He always served in the legislature. He served for the county executive for the last couple of years, and he recently left. But we just got word this morning that he passed away. So as a county worker, obviously as a community activist, some of you that may be from the Hempstead-Uniondale area, you might know him as well. He was the president of the Nostrand Garden Civic Association, which is in Uniondale as well. But we can just have a quick moment of silence just to remembrance of him. Thank you. Thank you very much.
As is customary at each full legislative meeting, we honor top cops, and in this case, I believe today we have one individual,
I know.
and before, I know, I was just going to call you. All right, so you can introduce.
I know there's a lot of people excited to come up here today.
Oh, I know, I'm
so I
sure they
figured,
are. At least it's nice and happy.
Well, absolutely. At the end of the day, I like to try to make everybody happy. And actually, this is a good story. First off, before I start to talk, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And I know elections are over. Congratulations to everybody, and looking forward to the next couple of years working together. Police Officer Mike Charney from the 8th Precinct. Just before I get to the story, another police officer whose father was a police officer also following in his footsteps, and I was talking to him before, proudly wearing his dad's badge, and I knew his dad, a good guy, and he definitely made a good one night many years ago, back in 1989 or 1988. Anyway, August 5th, 2015, a radio assignment comes out for a stolen car. Normally I read from this, but I'll give you the quick version. Stolen car comes out. We get these notifications all the time. Sometimes, most of the times, we actually don't catch them because by the time we get 911's called, car's way gone. Here's the radio thing right away. He gets into the area, spots the car, sees it goes into a gas station, goes to block out the exit, puts out a notification he's got the car. The occupant of the vehicle sees him, flees. Being a young guy, like I used to be this thin, he ran and chased the guy down, went back to the car, placed him under arrest, went back to the car, found a couple of bags in the car. One of the bags contained a 9mm weapon that was defaced, the serial number was defaced, obviously stolen. Another one was with a couple of hundred oxycodone pills, obviously with intent to sell. We've all talked about this, how drugs and guns are affected on our neighborhoods, and his quick actions took this gun, drugs, and took this guy off the street. And for that, he is our top cop. We're very proud of him, what he did.
Okay, Acting Commissioner.
Good afternoon, Legislator Gonzalez, legislators. It's something we talk about each and every day is probably the single biggest challenge that we face here in Nassau County, and that is opioids and heroin. Over this weekend, several people overdosed, and fatal heroin overdoses are up 100% year over year. So it is a significant challenge that we face here in Nassau County. And in this case, the officer, was able to take a case of a stolen car that was just reported stolen, that led on to an arrest of a subject with a defaced firearm. And for those that don't understand what that is, it's basically taking a firearm and removing the serial number that puts us in a position that we can't trace that back to the original owner. And it's quite obvious that if not for the great work by the officer Charney here, that this subject was going to be committing additional crimes, whether that was selling pills or whether that was going to be using that gun in some type of violent crime. This is an example of the great police work that the men and women of the Nassau County Police Department are doing each and every day. And in this case, congratulations to Officer Charney on the great job. You are truly a credit to the Nassau County Police Department, and thank you for all your hard work.
Officer, would you like to say a few words?
Just I'm happy that came from the city and I got hired in Nassau County just like 2 years ago. Happy that I'm able to serve this county now and take it one day at a time.
Who's the inspector of the 8th precinct? I see him.
Inspector Saunders, he's
I
up
would
there.
like to, okay, would you like to say a few words, Inspector Saunders?
Just a moment to thank the legislative body for having us and taking the time out to recognize Officer Charney. I appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Oh, you're most welcome, Justice,
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
and to you too. All right, now, I don't know where you want to go, down here, up here, which is best?
The
You want us
photographer's
to go
always
down
yelling at me
there?
and say down here.
Oh, okay, it's your choice. All right, let's go.
Down here. No, he's being funny now. He's push it. You're gonna get everybody in trouble.
How are you guys?
Coming down for pictures.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, is that what it is?
yeah.
I think you're coming down to say hello.
Yeah, I'll do that too. Hang on.
Hi there.
How are you?
Hi, how are you? Nice to see you. How are you? Good. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it's No. Waiting for the
I don't know what that is. We saw a You say we were gonna put out a press release. But then no, they told us. They're working on it. I came down to double check. I
I didn't get
can't see the inspector.
We're gonna be facing that way, I don't check it out. I know, I was thinking that,
transition so much.
just to see how it goes.
Thank you. Absolutely, and that's a big brand.
And we are over 777, yeah, so we have 46, we're supposed to have 50. And it doesn't, you know, it's
I mean, I don't know, I haven't seen the letter yet.
That's the issue.
I don't know about the stuff, because they got to make their schedules now. That's a tough thing.
Channel 7 and Channel 12. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
She doesn't.
Yeah. Saying we have different flavors in the yeah, I mean, we have customers.
I know. And we're going to not send books there anymore, but it's Friday.
Most of the, you know, most of the juniors did not come back. They come in the class. We were sure that we had a program, so kids, you know, and have that chance.
Good, how you doing?
It's very frustrating. I just think it has to be, you know, evaluated. They don't know what to do with some of these cases, so we get the most difficult cases. Go back and have the other one.
Take care, you too. Then whatever happens.
No, that's not me. But, you know, but I wish I you know, all in a house stays. See you later.
Hey, how are you? How are you?
I could say my favorite legislative, but there's too many.
It's good to see you. Really.
Take care, Jimmy.
Hey, how'd you get? You might want to yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't want to be in the state.
You screwed it up.
No, I don't.
Mr. Muller, would you please call the roll?
Deputy Presiding Officer Nicolella. Here. Alternate Deputy Presiding Officer Capel. Legislator Bino.
Here.
Legislator Solage. Here. Legislator Ford. Legislator Curran.
Here.
Legislator Becker. Legislator Muscarella. Legislator Birnbaum.
Here.
Legislator Juridiwit. Legislator Kennedy. Legislator Schaefer. Legislator Dunn. Legislator Jacobs. Legislator Walker. Legislator McKenzie. Legislator Rhodes. Minority Leader Abrahams is here. Presiding Officer Gonzalez.
Is here as well.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we have several speakers today, but before we begin public comment, I would like to offer a short statement regarding NYFA's rejection of the 2016 Nassau County budget, the potential implications of their actions, and to outline a proposal that we hope will address NYFA's concerns and avoid the cuts NYFA intends to impose on many of the organizations represented here today. I have no intention of debating any grievances we, as a legislature, may have with NYFA's action, and the fact that many of us disagree with their assessments and conclusions does not relieve us of our statutory obligation to respond in a meaningful way. Needless to say, NYFA has asked this legislature to address approximately $82 million in revenues it believes to be at risk. Though it is not specified, it has not specified the amount of new revenues it expects nor the form these additional revenues must take. At the outset, I believe that the budget we have passed and the revenues we have allocated to support it are both reasonable and achievable. The risks associated with this budget are consistent in terms of a monetary value with risk levels approved by NYFA across multiple budgets, virtually all of which have produced surpluses and restored our reserve funds to safer levels. With or without any changes this legislature may make, it is my opinion that any of the actions NYFA has threatened to take are without justification and are unnecessary. However, my opinion and that of many of my colleagues is not shared by NYFA. Indeed, NYFA has indicated that if we do not address revenues it deems to be at risk and do so immediately, then it use its statutory power to cut services in a manner that will impact thousands of our most vulnerable residents. These cuts will mean the virtual elimination of the youth board, thus ending the many worthy programs that so many of our families have come to rely upon. Also included will be subsidies Nassau County pays to support the NICE bus system, likely resulting in massive service cuts and disruptions in the lives of many hardworking people that rely upon public safety and public transportation system as their sole means of travel. None of this has to happen. Indeed, it is our hope that working collaboratively with NYPA and proactively addressing the risks it has identified, that all of these proposed cuts will be taken off the table. Accordingly, it is our intention today to pass additional recurring revenue in the amount of $16 million relating to increased mortgage recording and tax map verification fees, combined with another $7 million identified by the county executive office. We will advance an additional $23 million to NYPA for its consideration. We will also continue to look for additional cuts and revenue opportunities as the year progresses. We are also considering by emergency one bond offering in the amount of $32.4 million and relates to termination pay. We also know NYPA has drawn a line on bonding for termination pay, and by this action we are asking them to reconsider their position, but not in its entirety. This bond we are asking for will serve as a contingency only and will be utilized in the event that at-risk revenues do not materialize throughout the calendar year. Having this bond in place will provide the certainty that the budget remains in balance and that the draconian cuts being advanced by NYPA do not need to happen. This plan today should allow your organizations the certainty throughout the year that each of you required to provide the services of those who depend upon it. With the holiday season upon us, I am hopeful that we can, all of us on this body, come together and take the necessary actions to ensure that each of you will not have to worry about cuts to your services throughout 2016. In the spirit of Thanksgiving holiday is my further hope that NYPA and this county can agree on this plan that we believe addresses their concerns and preserves needed services. Before I ask the minority leader for his comments, I have to say that in the past week, we have been working very closely together, both sides of the aisle. And I think it's important for everyone in this room to know that nothing worthwhile, what is it they say, that it's important that we get together to do what is right to serve the interests of the public, especially those who are in need in order to make each day a meaningful one. I have to say thank you to Minority Leader Karan Abrahams because we have been meeting since last week and as early as this and as late as this morning on making sure that we come up with the plan that will be one that NYPA will approve and we will be able to keep all those programs that we hold dearly in place. So without any further ado, and again I say thank you to the Minority Leader, Ron Abrahams and his staff, as well as my staff, for working so hard in trying to come up with a plan that's going to make the resolutions that we need here today. So without any further ado, I have Ron.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer, and thank you to everyone that is here today. It seems to be that there's always the need to look to cut discretionary funding. I look out into the audience and I see the faces that are here, and this is not the first time that I've seen you here, actually serving in the legislature for the last 13 years. Whenever we face some type of budget crisis, it seems that the onus is being put on the backs of the children of this county, which is wrong. I know some of you weren't here a couple of weeks ago or last week when we actually voted on particulars of the county executive's budget, but I can tell you one of the things that I truly believe this legislature is going to fight for is to make sure that if there are any cuts, youth board, bus, volunteer firefighters, cuts to social services will not come first and should not come at all. And when you're talking about an $80 million risk budget, many people have tied the tax increase that was being proposed by the county executive to that. If the tax increase would have passed, youth programs would have been preserved. But I know that linking, and the folks in this room are too smart for that. You understand that this is an $80 million problem. And I can tell you with confidence, though we're working towards preserving youth board programs for 2016, I can tell you with confidence that this legislative body was not given the assurances that even if it went along with a tax increase from from the 2006 budget, that the youth board programs would be preserved. That everything was still in motion with NYFA, with the county executive, with this legislature. And before we decide to take any action, we want to make sure that you have the assurance, because I can tell you, after dealing with this legislation now for the last 13 years, and some of my colleagues have been here even longer, I can tell you also that it seems to be that we're constantly trying to give youth board agencies their assurance. When we had the red light camera program, and I hate to go down this road, we had a program that was going to preserve you, that took the politics away from you. We had something that was there. When that was repealed, unfortunately, what it created was putting you right back into the fray. And I'm not going to cast aspersions or throw stones on whoever voted or didn't vote for that particular proposal, but the bottom line is this, folks. I hate to tell you this, but I like to be straightforward and honest. The bottom line is you will always be in the fray. And it won't be because of the liking of anybody up here. We all don't want to see you part of the fray. But as long as this county is in fiscal distress, people are going to look to cut programs from discretionary funding. That's the unfortunate circumstance. What you need to know more than anything else is that the 19 of us up here, you need to make sure we're accountable and we won't stand for it. Because that's the only assurance that you're going to get from year to year. And it's sorry to say that we're at this point. But I can tell you, I've never, ever, and I can speak for my colleagues here as well, I've never, ever supported a youth board cut. Not one cut. Actually, the cuts don't even come to this legislature for a vote. The cuts are imposed by the fourth floor. This legislature never takes action. I am ecstatic to see the crowd that we have here today. But this legislature never votes on a cut. So the same energy we're seeing today, I encourage you to write to the county executive via email, via letter, however you see fit, to make sure your message is come across to the body that actually makes the cut go through. That being said, as I said before, I look forward to receiving the assurances and looking forward to the meetings that we've had with the county executive. I think we're getting closer to a point, but I wouldn't be able to say that to you until I actually receive some documentation that gives me that comfort that we're actually at that point. But we are working together to echo the presiding officer's comments, and I think we're working together for the betterment of what we understand: no bus, no youth, and no volunteer fighter programs, and no aid to villages. We know what that means. So thank you.
Before I move on to public comment, I must add to what the minority leader, Tamara Abrahams, has said. I am very confident at this point that we will be receiving some documentation from the county executive, and hopefully before we begin our session, addressing some of the concerns that the minority leader has stated, and of course the fact that we are hoping that when we leave this chamber today, we have and we are offering a solid plan that will certainly secure what is needed to keep our programs in place. So we have a lot of work ahead of us in the next hour or two, and I just hope that we'll all leave here today with a smile on our faces, because we're going, and I've said that before, yes, Pat, I said that before to you, that we're going to leave, I'm hoping that we're going to be able to leave this chamber today with a smile on our faces. So I want to leave one on my face as well as my colleagues here on the legislature. So with that, I'm going to begin public participation, and then we're going to, and I have to tell you the order of business today. I need to have a very short rules committee, which I will recess, because there's one item that has to be voted upon before we go to full ledge. And then I will recess rules and then move to the full ledge. But before we get to that order of business, I'm going to begin to call members of the public who are sitting here very patiently for quite a while. And the first one I have here is Joanne Borson. Okay, Joanne.
Self-care.
Good afternoon.
Where are you?
Red.
Where's the button? Okay, Joanne.
I should know. Good afternoon. Last month, the speaker infuriated me, accusing me of lying to you for 5 years. I do not bear false witness. I do not lie. That speaker lied. He lied when he said a consequence of transgender rights was who used which bathroom. We transgender women and men have used the bathroom appropriate to our identity for years. That's a present fact. Tell me, how can passing a civil rights law, a future act, cause something that already exists? The only consequence of transgender civil rights is that good and honest citizens will be free from the fear and the harm of discrimination, and you Republicans will be redeemed from the high sin of the harm you perpetrate on your neighbors. Bathrooms are not, never were, any part of transgender rights. Bathrooms are a diversion. Haters use to stir emotions. Emotions are their only tool because there's no rational reason for you to perpetrate the harm you do. If things were forced to be like that speaker said, there would be transgender men from all over the tri-state area coming to occupy the Nassau's ladies' rooms, coming with their female chromosomes, balding heads, whiskers, and equipped with disposable combs designed for allowing the female anatomy to urinate standing. The truth, there are 180 million people in the United States, including 13 million people in the state of New York living with transgender rights laws, and we never hear of a bathroom or other problem. If molesters or anyone wants to invade the privacy of a ladies' room or harm the people therein, they don't need a civil rights law to violate a criminal law. I speak the truth. We are women and men inside where God judges us, and the public sees us. Haters fabricate lies to stir emotions. Long-term experience proves bathrooms are a diversion from existing facts and not a future consequence of transgender civil rights. Pass the Gender Clarification Amendment, because the only true consequence will be to free people who are trying to support their families in the face of constant fear of being fired for who God made them. Plus, you will roll away your harmful sins.
Your 3 minutes have expired.
Thank you for listening. May I stop the clock to wish you a healthy Thanksgiving and a happy Hanukkah, the first day of which I'm honored to have the fall on my 90th birthday.
December the 9th? Is that the
Sixth.
birthday? The 6th? The first day of Hanukkah.
Yes,
Right. All right.
I was
Happy
born on the
birthday to
6th
you.
and the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. And I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I'm going to give you a Christmas present. I'll skip hollering at you in December. And I'll see you in January, unless Norma decides to give me the gender
Birthday
clarification law for a birthday present. Thank you.
Joanne?
I think it's important that everyone knows what took place last night. What took place last night was a night of remembrance and for the transgender community in a church in my community in Plainview. It was one of the more moving experiences I've had, and our own colleague, Judy Bosworth, was honored, was the speaker and honored for that evening. And I have to remind everybody up here that North Hempstead, just about a month and a half ago, passed exactly what I've been trying to pass for 5 years. They passed it in North Hempstead in a bipartisan, unanimous decision. And guess what? North Hempstead is still standing, and Judy Bosworth, Judy and I used to get a little confused too. Judy Bosworth won her election by 69% of the vote. So I would say that all of this delay is totally so ridiculous, and that people accepted it and applauded it and actually did the right thing in a bipartisan way in North Hempstead. No reason it can't be done here, no reason. Just thought I'd mention that.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
I wish that all the legislators would have been there to experience our memorial service. I think it was very moving and even informative.
Very much so.
So how about it, Norma? Do I get a birthday present?
Sorry, but I'm going. There is someone representing LITAC, who maybe, is it Daniel?
Yes.
I got it, Daniel.
Okay.
And your last name, Daniel?
Dobroff, D-O-B-R-O-F-F.
Okay, all right, okay. You may proceed. Go ahead.
Okay, so, like I said, my name is Daniel Dobroff. I'm here on behalf of LITAC. I got involved last year after going to a forum on what it's like to be transgender out in Suffolk County at a UU church in Stony Brook, because I had a friend who I grew up with who came out as transgender, and then a few years later started to transition, and one of my other friends who I worked with a few years ago, I discovered was transgender, and discovered the struggles she faced, particularly living in Nassau County, not being able to find work, having troubles even in her home with her landlord, which likely was due to her discrimination for being transgender. And then I just several teenagers, unfortunately struggling because they're discriminated against for who they are. Here in Nassau County, people are put in the wrong prisons, which obviously I would say is an injustice. It's an injustice that people can't find work. It's an injustice that people could legally be banned from a restaurant for being who they are. I mean, these are things that should have been resolved 50 years ago when the Civil Rights Act was passed, but sadly it hasn't been done yet. But in Nassau County, you all have the opportunity just to add gender identity into your anti-discrimination laws. No one loses, and people who are transgender win, by having their rights. It's not not a lot to ask for. And basically, what I would say to you is, you can either do the wrong thing and not do the simple thing, and get voted out when people see how hateful that would be, or you could do the right thing and put it in there and set a precedent for New York State, the country, and the entire world. So basically, I'm calling all of you to do the right thing and help those in need. There's so many, and these are their rights. And please do the right thing. There's nothing wrong with people being different. Just because you can't understand certain people doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. And your police department, one of my friends who was transgender was arrested for, was pulled over and arrested for something that was just, something they would get a ticket for. I'm not going to go into the details, but I would say it's quite likely because they were transgender, they were discriminated against. They were discriminated against in the police department, accused of being a heroin addict without any proof, and basically the charges were thrown out, so that proves that something wasn't done right. So basically, like I said before, you can either do the right thing and be on the right side of history, or not do the right thing and be on the wrong side of history. And you all have the power to do the right thing. It's just a matter of will you do the right thing or will you not do the right thing.
Your 3 minutes have expired.
Okay.
Thank you very much,
Please do
Daniel.
the right thing.
Good afternoon. Peter Meriday, and today I'm wearing my Farmingdale State College Veterans Club sweatshirt as their honorary member, as their domestic warrior, because I continue the fight to generate some type of pro-action on an ongoing basis for our veterans, our student veterans, and the families of veterans who continue to suffer here on Long Island. And I was writing notes on the back of, as we talked about saving money and budget cuts, and I was here when you all had the discussion about the initial cuts on the subsidies for the night buses. That continues to be a question of concern for me, because I was also here when we talked about why we were privatizing the bus system under the guise of saving taxpayer dollars, and that does not seem to be the case. And now you want to cut the subsidy that you're giving to the bus, which is supposed to be less than what we were paying when we had our own bus system. But that's above my volunteer job grade to try to figure all that out. I'm also very concerned as to why there is never any inclusion in these budget cut discussions with regard to staffing. The cars, the perks, why isn't that ever an issue or an item when I always hear about youth services programs being cut, bus services being cut, and then we're always trying to raise those fees when we don't realize that the fees that you're increasing, particularly as it pertains to mortgages and housing, are addressing the same homeowners that are running out in droves with regard to, I can wait, I can hold my minutes, because I would like your full attention. Okay, I'm not really sure, because I was always taught that eye contact really helps as well. So not to be disrespectful, but I don't want to be disrespected while I'm standing here either. So my concern has to do with why we don't discuss cutting the salaries and the support staff for the many people. Many of you have your support team and you're working and you're still getting paid. Many of the people who are sitting in this audience, they've had to take time out of their jobs to be here, to basically end up getting their feelings hurt because you're going to, at the end of the day, do what you want to do anyway. And then our veterans, which everybody was waving their flags, wearing their lapel pins, and proudly saluting those who serve, but then the next day, the parade is over. And guess what? Our veterans are still suffering when they come back here. Our student veterans can't afford to live on Long Island. So they're leaving here, they're getting a quality education, and they're leaving here. millions of dollars in contracting opportunities are not being afforded to veteran employees or employers. And then we wonder why we don't have enough money. So we need answers to these questions. Now I'm looking at this list of personal services contracts, and I want to ask the question, what is the vetting process in light of the numerous contract reviews that are taking place with our newly elected district attorney as well as our state district attorney?
Your 3 minutes have expired, man.
I'm sure it has. But what is the vetting process with regard to the procurement and in terms of protecting our tax dollars so that we don't continue to see the number of friends, relatives, neighbors, and those who don't win elections, but then somehow they get appointed to other higher paid positions, that they're utilizing our money. So our veterans have needs beyond Veterans Day and the 4th of July. Our student veterans are leaving. These zombie houses are empty, so they're not adding to the tax rolls, and you are killing the lifeblood of this county, and something has got to give.
Thank you very much.
Please stop wasting paper on reports that have nothing to them. This is a waste of paper. All this could have been on one sheet.
Thank you very much, Ms. Madam Floyd?
Good afternoon, members of the legislature. My name is Jack McCloy. I'm a resident of Baldwin. And one of the things that bothered me so much for me to come and address today is the fact that these people in the audience are asking for restitution for programs that legitimately should not be cut. We have youth services programs, we have bus service, we have support of our towns and villages, and yet there are very expensive projects that remain in the budget that are fluff. They're local pork. They don't need to be there. And many of you might not know about some of these projects going on in the backyard of other legislative districts. I come to you today to mention a program that has a lot of my community members upset about. It's the proposal to change Grand Avenue, which is a local north-south road, probably the busiest road in Baldwin, going north and south, from a 2-lane road down to a 1-lane road. And this proposal, it's been announced at the Baldwin Civic Association meeting last week, will cost $700,000 for the survey and study, and another $6 to $7 million for implementation, for a project many of us in Baldwin don't even want. It will restrict police vehicles, fire department trucks, EMS units from traversing Baldwin north-south from Merrick Road to Sunrise Highway. This area will be restricted from a 2-lane road down to a 1-lane road. It's a crazy proposal that I'm sure in 2 or 3 years you will be sitting there discussing how to reverse it for another few $1 million charge. I ask you to please focus your attention on what means so much to us here. Stop looking at the programs that are, you vote for my program, I'll vote for yours, because it's local pork. Please take a look at this program, vote it down. I'm a Baldwin resident that doesn't want $7 million wasted in my backyard, and I'm sure there are other programs that you could find that are unnecessary, and these programs are. Thank you.
Ray Owens? Julie?
Good afternoon. Normally you hear me talking about transgender civil rights, but today I come as an advocate for my community, specifically for transgender youth, along with lesbian, gay, and bisexual youth, to support the need for services to continue for that community. And I just want to make it clear that this is an at-risk youth community that needs the most help and the most support, and we hope that you will reconsider the youth services issue. Thank you.
Alfalfa? Yes, no? Not here. Not here? Okay. Richard, I don't know if I can read the last name, from Roslyn Heights. Is it Brummer? No, it's not Richard, no, Brewster.
Brewster. Good afternoon, my name is Richard.
Richard, what's your last name?
Brewster.
Thank you.
I'm 17 years old. Because of a few bad choices, I'm on home arrest and GED home instruction. Concerned Citizens for Roslyn Youth and my school district have worked together to help me with legal representation. To plan my future and for me to attend my class at the center, I have been working at Safe Places at the school program since my placement there. My mom died Tuesday, October 27, 2015. She went to sleep and didn't wake up. My mom was 36. We don't know the cause yet, but I have a younger sister, 11, and brother, 3. My grandparents are trying to work things out. My sister attends the Safe Places at the school program, and my brother is in a pre-school program. My mom wanted me to be a good student and a good person. I may have let her down, but she saw me trying to change. I'm glad about that. She had confidence in Concerned Citizens for Roslyn Youth and my school district and trusted them to help me get back on track. It is hard to stay focused, but the support that I have is making a difference. Nassau County funding is my opportunity. I will be 18 in February. Thank you.
Martin, again, I'm having difficulty reading your name, from North Belmore. Martin.
I would like to take the money for youth programs. Yeah, Martin Blum. Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Abrams, honorable members of the Nassau County Legislature. My name is Martin Blum, and I'm the acting chairperson for the Board of Directors of the Nassau County Youth Board. I'd first like to ask that the $7 million for the Grand Avenue one-way project be given to the Youth Board. We can have 13.4. But seriously, NIFE has rejected the 2016 budget, directed you to make additional cuts. At risk is $6.4 million to our youth services. It has identified these youth services as non-essential. I can't believe that youth and families in Nassau County are non-essential. That's hard to believe. I also cannot believe that you would let these non-essential services be taken away from your communities. You're responsible, all of you, for ensuring that this county's budget provides for the safety and security of children and families. But so far, we seem to have been failing in that venue because the dangers that challenge their healthy development and their very lives is at risk. Some would say you have failed to do your job. If this network fails, what's the alternative? And I ask each one of you, what is the alternative? The loss to the Nassau County system of care will be substantial and irreversible. And I thank you, Ms. Gonzalez, Mr. Abrams, in terms of what you said about the Youth Board and its funding. But we've been through this multiple times. And as I stand here as a former educator of 42 years working with high-risk young people. I can't believe that we come back to the same table multiple times, and I have to tell you, I wrote this out long time. I can't believe we come back to the table time after time and have kids as dominoes, as political pawns in a process that hurts kids and families. You all have kids and families. You represent kids and families. We want to emasculate the programs that help them.
If you're expired,
I
sir.
have a list, excuse me, I'm going to take, if I may, and it's up to you, some particular minutes from the other folks. Because the board of directors are very,
We don't really do that, Mr. Blum.
I would ask your permission.
If there is someone who wants to relinquish or yield, these are her time fine. And you are, sir?
Danny Grodowski, board
Did you
member,
put
I'd
in
like
a
to
slip,
defer my
Danny?
minutes.
Did you put in a slip?
Yes, I did.
Okay, this, you are willing to relinquish your time?
Yes.
Go ahead, and hopefully you'll stay, I'm not going to allow more than one, okay? And that's it.
Thank you.
Mr. Blum.
There's 295,000 children under the age of 18 in our county. As members of the Board of Directors of the Nassau County Youth Board, we demand that you ensure that these cuts do not happen. The budget we're talking about is $6.4 million, or 0.004% of a $3 billion county budget. The money that we're talking about is peanuts, and it affects 50,000 children that our agencies take care of in your communities. I cannot believe we come back to the table time after time. It's exhausting. It's ridiculous. You're our legislators. How can you keep our kids and families as pawns in your legislative difficulties? I'm being kind. Restore, make sure the money is there. I can give you a list of 20 items if I read through my prepared remarks of what we serve, how we serve, what we do. We're cost effective. We do a fabulous job. The people here put themselves out time after time, way beyond their hours that they should, for kids, for families. We don't want to keep doing this. Our children, our family deserve better from you. We need your support. We don't want to be ping pongs being bounced back and forth and back and forth. It's a disservice to kids, to family, to all of us. Thank you.
Representative Wilkes, after the speaker, we'll be at the 30-minute mark for the public comment before the meeting.
Then we will come back and we have the rest of these, those that have to put in the slip. Jamie, welcome again.
Thank you. We brought presents. So I don't know where you'd like these. These are just some letters that have come from our constituents, our families and parents, so we're just going to leave these for you. I think they're all pretty much separated for each of you, and some of them also are directed, I believe, to the county executive as you have requested. So, my name is Jamie Bovenschutz. I am the Executive Director of Yes Community Counseling Center, serving the communities of Massapequas, Plain Edge, Farmingdale, Levittown, Island Trees, and Bethpage. I'm going to read this because I don't remember this stuff anymore. but truly I am shocked to be standing here before you again, to plead this case with you again for youth and family services in our county. When I knew I'd be here today, I went back through all my previous testimonies going back decades, and I thought, how much more can I possibly say or do? How many people can we put before you? How many stories do you need to hear? How many parents do you need to see in tears or expressing their outrage before this process finally comes to an end? I'm not bringing down hundreds of people that we serve each day because they are trying desperately to survive. They are at work trying to put food on their tables and pay their bills. They are trying to deal with the crises in their lives, the losses, the addiction, the violence, the depression, and so much more. But we will bring attention to this debacle on behalf of those children that we serve who can't be here before you, because quite frankly, in the real scheme of things, this should not be their fight. It is their right for services. It is their right to receive help. So you tell me, what do I say to this child? And I'm going to read you a little piece of a report that was sent to Child Protective Services on behalf of this young person. I'm going to read it verbatim, so it's not going to sound as probably eloquent as you might like. But child reported that his mother has hit him in the arm, leaving bruises, threatened to kill him and his siblings and his father. Mother has brandished a baseball bat with alleged violence intent toward the child. Child reports that the incident left a mark. Child reports that this most often happens when mother is intoxicated, and reports the incidents are recurrent but could not specify dates and times. Child reports that his mother has broken windows, slashed car tires, and has been destructive to property. Child is currently residing with his father due to the recent incidences with mother. Do you think that this child will be okay without the support and guidance of youth services? I can almost promise you that he won't be. He is but one of the thousands that our youth system works with. Sadly, he is not an anomaly. There are more. There are many, many more like him, whose lives are in even greater peril than his, but for very, very many different reasons. But I know you have heard this before, and you have made promises to us before. I can tell you about cost savings. I can tell you about the importance of prevention rather than incarceration, how cost-effective our system is, but you know all of that, and still we are here again.
Your 3 minutes have expired.
I'm almost done, if you just bear with me for 30 more seconds. So in the midst of this holiday season, I need to brace myself for the reality that I might be closing down some of my programs. As someone who has spent close to 4 years serving this county, I can assure you that we have saved lives, and we do so because we believe in what we do. We are committed to what we do, with every connection that we make, with every young person that walks through our doors. So where do you stand on this? Because in your heart of hearts, this cannot be about politics or about political affiliation. It's got to be about what's right. You sit in this room, in these seats, and you are parents, you are community members, and you got to leave a legacy. You have to leave a legacy that we can all be proud of. When you put your heads down on your pillow at the end of each day, are you comforted in knowing that you really did the right thing, that you really did everything you could within your power to make sure that we are off the chopping block? We shouldn't be discretionary. It's a very, very interesting word, but it does imply that you have an ability to make a choice. So today we're imploring you to make a choice that we know comes with consequences, but we know a choice that will make a difference. Ensure that the decision to refund and to reinvest in our kids and our families is off the table. So let's truly give thanks, really give thanks in a way that means something to a lot of people. Thank you.
As I indicated before, that we will do a rules committee, recess the committee, and go to the full ledge. Right after the full ledge, we will resume public comment for those who wish to stay and address this body. All right? So right now, I need just the members of the rules committee, rules call on the roll.
Legislator Solage? Here. Legislator Jacobs? She's here, right? Ranking Member Abrams? Legislator Copel? Legislator Dunn? Vice Chairman Nicolella? Chairwoman Gonzalez?
Present.
We have a vote.
We have one item before we recess the Rules Committee, and then it's necessary that we do this item first, then go to the full register. And that item is item 374, amendment ordinance number 16, 2011, as amended by ordinance number 75, 2014, in relation to imposing a fee to defray administrative costs related to various processing activities at Tiverton. Motion. Moved by legislator Dunn, seconded by legislator Cordell.
Break later instead of now? Why do you need to do it now?
Mark here to speak on this, and Mr.
Good afternoon, John Marks, Executive
Have your meeting
Director,
later.
excuse me, Nassau County Traffic and Parking Violations Agency with
Dave Rich, Assistant Executive Director of Tiverton.
Your meeting, can you have your meeting later so that these people don't have to leave? Why are you doing it in the middle of the public comment? It doesn't make any sense to us. We took off from work to be here. Can you do your meeting later? That would be great.
And it has been 30 minutes of public participation with the idea that we will be coming back.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is, could you do your meeting later to compromise with us?
We followed procedure, thank you. All right,
Is it a
and
choice
then-
or is
and
it
our
of something you
will
have
go
to
on
do?
very quickly. Trust me, it will go on.
People are leaving.
People are leaving. This is, people
Listen,
took off.
listen
My
to me
question is, do you
carefully.
have a choice and could you
I
do it
am not
later?
going to interrupt Judge Marks. He's going to continue with his comment. What will happen?
You're not telling me whether or not you could do this
Not too long
later.
from now. Judge Marks.
Okay.
The ordinance addresses the administrative fee charged for dispositions other than not guilty. The existing fee is no longer appropriate with regard to cost provided. The ordinance, however, eliminates the fee for individuals whose dismissal is based upon a vehicle and traffic law, section 376-A4, defective equipment. The ordinance also tightens up language in order to avoid misinterpretation.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What happened? I'm sorry. This is what happened. Come on. Sorry. That's an easy day. Okay, Judge Moss, it's your turn, and I promise no more interruptions.
I see the Mr. President.
Would you like me to repeat, or?
Yes, please, be nice.
The ordinance addresses the administrative fee charge, which is also known as the driver responsibility fee, for all dispositions other than not guilty. The existing fee is no longer appropriate with regard to cost provided. The ordinance, however, eliminates the fee for individuals whose dismissal is based upon Vehicle and Traffic Law, Section 376-84, defective equipment. The ordinance also tightens up language in order to avoid misinterpretation.
Okay, just repeat for me, Mr. Rich. If one is found not guilty, this fee does not apply. Is that correct? In other words,
If the disposition is not guilty, the
Right.
fee has never been applied.
Okay, all right, that's, okay.
Sure, is it the fee will not apply for the statute 376, the Vehicle and Traffic Law, is the only statute that makes mandatory a dismissal if the violation quick terms is corrected within 24 hours. It's actually the next business day, list certain holidays, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that fee will no longer be charged since it's a mandatory dismissal. It will be treated for this purpose as a not guilty. It's just had within the 24 hours of the documentation of how it will not be charged. But it relates to what kind of violation? Violation? Any equipment violation.
Just give us an example.
Red light, tail light, hanging, something hanging from the
Those violations are corrected within
Tinted
24
windows.
hours. As those violations are corrected in 24 hours, this fee is not.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the legislators? Any public comments regarding this ordinance? There be none. All those in favor of 374, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, 4 ayes and 3 abstentions. Okay, now, I'm going to put the rules in event.
Thanks, have a nice Thanksgiving, everybody.
I'm going to put the rules in recess, and we're going to move to the full pledge, and at this time, we said we already took the full earlier. Does every, members of the legislature, please come back and take the seats.
Procedure. Could you do it later? Just throw that out there. Break down from the box and everything, just so that we can get the box. Nice. So we're in the E section, just like 40-ish. It's already, just walking on down here. He's powwowing. I think we could just do it. Like just like here, just put those fire behind him or something, right? What do you think? Oh, God. Oh, yeah? Oh.
I'm already on the ground and like.
Where we can move the legislative meeting forward, I think I'm going to get the effort to do that. In the meantime, please, everyone take your seats so we can begin with a procedural resolution and okay, everybody in.
President, also we have a procedural resolution, it's a procedural resolution to appoint, we have a procedural resolution to reappoint the Director of Office of Legislative Budget Review pursuant to the County Government Law of Nassau County.
I don't know what everyone's attention. Will we give Mr. Muller your attention? Let's go.
Let me just start from the beginning. Procedural officer, we have a procedural resolution. A procedural resolution to reappoint the Director of Legislative Office of Legislative Budget Review pursuant to County Government Law of Nassau County. Be it resolved that pursuant to Article 1-B of the County Government Law of Nassau County, Maurice Chalmers, 621 Wingate Drive West, North Valley Street, New York, 11580, is hereby reappointed Director of the Office of Legislative Budget Review for a term commencing January 1st, 2016, and ending on December 31st, 2019.
I didn't know you were calling today.
I need a motion for the, no, hold on.
Just leave a message.
Okay, I move that resolution, and Ron Abrams? Seconded. Okay, all those in favor of the procedural resolution, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The resolution passes unanimously. Okay, Maurice, you're on, you're ready again. You gotta come down.
Presiding Officer Gonzalez, Minority Leader Abrams, all members of Nassau County Legislature, I would like to thank you for your continued support. My staff and I remain committed to serving this body and look forward to doing so for the next 4 years, which you are entrusting us to do. We understand the importance of the office in relation to the body that we serve. I thank my staff for their support during the past 4 years and look forward to the next 4 years. Thank you.
I believe you.
Maurice, sorry. I just really quick, I know we got a lot of stuff on today's calendar, but I just wanted to say it's been a pleasure working with you. I think I speak on behalf of our entire caucus that we look forward to working with you the next 4 years, which I have a strange feeling you will be very busy with requesting this legislative body over the next 4 years. But thank you again for your devotion, and obviously thank you to your entire staff. They've put together a very outstanding effort on behalf of the residents of Nassau County.
We're very lucky. Maurice, the idea that 19 of us agreed on something, you must have something very special. So I know that you'll continue working as hard as you have in the past 4 years, and I know that your staff is certainly a worthy staff, and I say thank you to you as well, because, you know, it takes more than just one person to really make the difference.
It absolutely does.
Well, why don't you stand up? There we are.
Thank you again.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Maurice. You know what we're going to do next? I know where I'm going. I know where I'm going. I'm crazy. No, we don't do that. I promise. It's around 18 years. You've been around 20. Tell me about it. In order to expedite the calendar, the minority and the majority agreed to a consent calendar, and the reason why we have agreed to the consent calendar was most of the items that will be presented as part of the consent calendar went through the various committees, and they were unanimous. So it's only prudent at this point to do the consent calendar before we get to all of the most difficult items. And I'm going to begin reading with item 13, which is ordinance 140, item 15, ordinance 142, item 16, ordinance 143, item 17, ordinance 144, item 18, ordinance 145, item 19, ordinance 146, item 20, ordinance 147, item 21, ordinance 148, item 22, ordinance 149, item 23, ordinance 150, item 24, ordinance 151, item 25, ordinance 152, item 26, ordinance 153, item 27, ordinance 154, item 28, ordinance 155, item 29, ordinance 156, item 30, ordinance 157, item 31, ordinance 158, item 32, ordinance 159, item 33, ordinance 160, item 34, ordinance 161, item 35, ordinance 162, item 36, ordinance 163, all right, item 37, ordinance 164, item 38, ordinance 165, item 39, ordinance 166, item 40, ordinance 167, item 41, ordinance 168, item 42, ordinance 169, item 43, item ordinance 170, excuse me, item 44, ordinance 171, item 45, ordinance 172, item 46, ordinance 173, ordinance 47, ordinance 174, item, all right, hold on, 52, resolution 202, item 53, resolution 203, item 54, resolution 204, item 55, resolution 205, item 56, resolution 206, item 57, resolution 207, item 58, resolution 208, item 59, resolution 209, item 60, resolution 210, item 61, resolution 211, item 62, resolution 212, item 63, resolution 213, item 64, resolution 214, item 65, resolution 215, item 66, resolution 216, item 67, resolution 217, item 68, resolution 218, item 69, resolution 219, item 70, resolution 220, item 71, resolution 221, item 72, resolution 222, item 73, resolution 223, item 74, resolution 224, item 75, resolution 225, item 76, resolution 226, item 27, resolution 227, item 78, resolution 228, item 79, resolution 229, item 80, resolution 230, item 81, resolution 231. Item 82, resolution 232, item 83, resolution 233, item 84, resolution 234, item 85, resolution 235, item 86, resolution 236, item 87, resolution 237, item 88, resolution 238, item 89, resolution 239, Item 90, Resolution 240. Item 91, Resolution 241. Item 92, Resolution 242. Item 93, Resolution 243. Item 94, Resolution 244. And I believe that ends the consent calendar. A motion, please, for those items. Moved by Legislator Dunn, second by Legislator Walker. All those in favor of those items that was just called, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Aye. The items passed unanimously. Now, so, we're going to go to the first two hearings on the calendar, which is hearing on Resolution 204. Ms. Moore, would you like to call that hearing, please?
Presiding Officer, do you want to pull them together or separately?
Yes, call them together.
Okay. Presiding Officer, we have two. We have a hearing on resolution to adopt the 4-year capital plan for the County of Nassau, commenced on January 1st, 2015, pursuant to the provisions of Section 310 of the County Government Law of Nassau County, and a hearing on Resolution 201 of 2015, resolution to adopt the 4-year capital plan for the County of Nassau to commence on January 1st, 2016, pursuant to the provisions of Section 310 of the County Government Law of Nassau County.
Moved by Legislator Rhodes, seconded by Legislator. We're opening the hearing.
Correct.
We're opening, hold on.
Yeah, just open up the hearing.
Legislator Rhodes, seconded by Legislator Kennedy. Okay, and now that the hearing is open, guess what? We're not having a motion to open the hearing. All right, so all those in favor of opening this hearing, signify by saying aye. Okay, now guess what? We open the hearing, but however, we are putting the two hearings in recess. Okay? And I don't need a motion for that. Okay? We're going to move to item 14, which is ordinance 141, an ordinance allowing the Nassau County Police Department to donate used body armor vets to the government of El Salvador to be used by police officers for their protection. Okay, a second. Second. Okay, now I need moved by Patel and Walker. Right now, I'm going to ask for an amendment in the nature of substitution, and that amendment calls for a change in the donation to the government of El Salvador, and it's going to be now, they will be donated to the United States Department of State for distribution. Motion to for the amendment in the nature of substitution. Moved by Mackenzie, seconded by Doug. Okay, all those in favor of the amendment in the nature of the substitution signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And now for the item as amended, all those in favor of item 14, what's the matter? It's just the vests, okay? The amendment was to donate it to the United States government, okay? Rather than El Salvador. Okay, all those in favor of that item signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the item passes. Right. Hey. No, We're going to move to item 95, and I'm going to ask the clerk to read resolution 245.
95 on the calendar, Resolution 245, a resolution to amend Resolution 192 of 2015 to completely and validly reflect total assessed valuation of the properties in the County of Nassau by including the proceedings of the County of Nassau legislature a statement of the total assessed valuation of the properties situated in the school districts in the County of Nassau, the 3 towns, 2 cities and villages within the County of Nassau, statement of the assessed valuations of the properties in the special district in the 3 towns within the County of Nassau, a statement of the assessed valuations of the properties situated in the 3 towns within the County of Nassau, upon which town highway taxes are to be raised and levied, a statement of the assessed valuations of the properties situated in the 3 towns within the County of Nassau, upon which the county police district taxes are to be raised and levied, a statement of the assessed valuations of the properties situated in the town of Hempstead within the sewage disposal district number 1 of the County of Nassau, a statement of the assessed valuations of the properties situated in the town of Hempstead, North Hempstead, within the sewage disposal district number 2 of the County of Nassau, a statement of the assessed valuations of the properties situated in the towns of Hempstead, North Hempstead, and Oyster Bay, within sewage district disposal district number 3 of the County of Nassau, and statements of the assessed valuations of the properties within the several sewage collection districts situated in the towns of Hempstead, North Hempstead, and Oyster Bay, upon which sewer taxes are to be raised, and to be filed with the clerk of the legislature, the town budget for the year 2016 for the towns of Hempstead, North Hempstead, and Oyster Bay, the list of special districts and amounts certified by the town boards of the 3 towns to be raised for special district purposes and for unpaid water charges in arrears, pursuant to the county government law of Nassau County, the Nassau County Administrative Code, the town law, the road property tax law, and the county law.
Motion, please. Moved by legislator Nicolao, second by legislator Walker. Okay, we have someone to speak on this item. Anyone from the administration? Who can speak on this item?
He's not.
Okay, I see someone coming. All right.
Conall Daniel, County Attorney's Office. This was addressed, I believe, prior in committees, so I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well, please give us a little bit of an explanation as to what the item is again.
Certainly,
Yeah, questions.
as part of the tax levy process, the legislature is required to certify as to the assessed values in the county, for the towns and the special districts, and that's the item before you. It's being done as an amendment to the assessed valuation, which is also required for the schools, which was done previously. And this way, they'll be together in one package, which will complete the process.
It's come to our attention as part of the implementation of the Liquor Reform Act that certain properties located within school districts, including North Shore, are under the process of being transferred from the tax rolls to pilot programs. And in particular in North Shore, some members of the legislature were advised that certain properties, in the opinion of the attorney for North Shore School District, were incorrectly taken off the tax rolls and initiated into pilot programs. Could you please address going forward, if this item passes, how that could be addressed in the future and what the effect would be on the taxing districts?
Well, I would expect that the assessor's office would be working with the school district to determine who in fact owns those properties. Are they owned by LIPA? Are they owned by one of the private companies or someone else that would remain taxable? And I believe that we could adjust going forward to make sure, obviously, that we're only removing those properties that are owned by LIPA.
Okay, then in the event that this resolution is passed today, would that have any effect ultimately on the amount of tax revenue or pilot payments that these school districts receive?
It should be neutral in the sense that if it doesn't come from pilots, it'll come from taxes. So the budgets, the levies for the schools should be secure. It'll just be how the mix between the two is affected.
And in the event it was mistakenly indicated as a pilot, and then in the future has to be put back on the tax rolls, would there be any net loss to the school district by that?
No.
Legislator Nicolao?
Just, Mr. Daniel, this is certified assessed values,
Yes,
and this is something we do every year as ministerial, correct?
that's correct.
What if we don't do it? What happens?
I mean, it's an unusual question, I mean, but I believe it has to be done, it's required by law.
So the towns, villages, special districts, and school districts are relying on us to
They
do
are,
this.
that's right.
Would it affect our ability to levy taxes, I suppose?
Well, I think the taxes have been levied, or about to be levied for the town, so I think that would go forward, but it is part of the process. It is ministerial, I don't know if we can stop the levy from going forward, but it really should be done.
Okay, thank you.
Legislator George, you have.
Thank you, Norma. Where are we in the process of identifying properties?
I prefer that the assessor speaks to that. I believe it is in process. I know they did it at least in the first round, but I don't know if anyone's here from the assessor that can speak to where they are on that.
Yeah, because that was I think that was a concern that was conveyed to me.
I don't know whether they agree with the school or disagree with the school on the school's fund.
Is there someone here from assessment? Okay.
Hi, Eileen Daly, Sapacone, good afternoon. There is someone working on it. I can get someone else to come from assessment, but it's not me. I can't provide that information to you.
Are they working on this list?
That's my understanding, correct, yes.
That was the only concern that was conveyed to me, was just that we don't have the list yet. And of course, it can be, fixed later, but I would just feel better to see the list prior.
Is there any way you can get that list now, if it's available?
I will contact someone, yes.
Please. All right. Is that okay, Legislator Thorne?
Hi, I think this might also be for assessment. Can we have a comparison of the base proportions of the four classes of property before and after?
Individual or an overall? Because I think an overall comparison was sent
Oh, I didn't see it.
to somebody today.
Oh, I didn't see it. It might have been after we got here that it was sent.
I believe it was done earlier today to someone from your side.
Maybe someone resent it.
Who was it? Who was it?
It was sent to Peter Hines.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can we move to table this then? Did we get the list, or? I move to table. Just until we get the list, I think it would be prudent to.
Which list?
The list of the properties that. We want to identify the properties as we stated before.
Legislator, the list specify what properties.
The list that the representative from the assessment office just mentioned, I just think that should be compiled before we vote for it, so we can just have everyone that's affected see it.
Now, there's a motion to table, okay, so until we able to get that list. All those in favor of tabling the, signify by saying aye.
Can we get a second?
Yes, I do.
I second.
All those in favor of tabling 95, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the item is tabled, so hopefully we'll be able to get to that list. That's a good thing. Vita, Mr. Klein, do you have that list?
No, I do not, but I'm trying to get it.
Pardon?
We'll resend it to Peter.
Please send it to him, and no one, guess what? Better send it over here too.
We'll send it everywhere.
Okay, all right. Okay, so we did take over 95, but hopefully we'll be able to get the information before we leave today. All right, now. Okay, we're waiting for, now this one. Since we're waiting for, we're waiting for additional documentation, and so I think it would be, rather than. That's what I said, do that too. There we go. Okay, Evelyn, Sister Evelyn, where'd you go? I saw Sister Evelyn, did she leave? I know, Sister Evelyn, and I know things like you have business as well. Okay, Tom? Bruno? Okay, let's go, Tom.
Good afternoon, Tom Bruno, Hicksville, Boys and Girls Club. I'm here today to encourage you all to do all that you can to put the funding back into youth services. When I walked in here earlier today, I wasn't really sure what to expect. But after hearing some of the comments from the presiding officer and the minority leader, I'm feeling more encouraged. And I feel that you all agree with me when I say that youth are not non-essential. They are very important to us. And to categorize youth services as discretionary, I think you all feel the same as I do, that that should not be the category that it is in. But I urge you all to do all that you can. Put your heads together. If you have to be innovative with trying to figure out some way to make this work, do all that you can, because there are a lot of kids out there who are depending on you. So please, thank you very much and do all that you can for us.
Tom? Yeah. Tom, I want to talk to you for a minute. There is no question, and you and I know each other a long time and talk a lot. There's no question that we agree with everybody from Youth Board, everybody from seniors, everybody from bus and mental health. We don't consider any of that discretionary. And through the years, thank God, although there was that blip when the bottom was falling out, we really have kept pretty strong in our commitment all the way across, both parties. We don't like what's going on here any more than anyone likes what's going on here. I hate when you have to come here and have to beg us. It shouldn't be like this. But we don't set the mandates that this budget is based on. And that's our biggest problem. I mean, the word, discretionary, what did they say? Not essential? That did not emanate from this legislature, all right? Discretionary funds, which is in any budget, is really, unfortunately, where something goes into as a pot when it's not something that's mandated. And that's what we're up against all the time, and that's why, I mean, look, you know, I don't want to say anything more than this, but, you know, we're about to do something, I think, which will help a lot. But I have to just tell you that there's never that ironclad thing that this will ever change. And I feel badly because people sometimes get up here and they say, well, I hope that you've learned from this. Yeah, I'm here 20 years. I've learned from it. I've learned that every year we have to go through the same thing. Well, you have to go through it worse because it's your programs, it's our children. All the way around, it affects all of us. I wish it was different. I don't know, maybe we did this. Since we're going into my 21st year, there's got to be something.
We never learned, okay?
Well, I'm saying, I included all of us. I'm saying, For those of us who are here 20 years and about to go into our 21st year, you've got to admit we have a lot of stamina to keep doing it, because how do you say the same things to wonderful people like yourself? And I know who else is out there, and then not be able to say, okay, from this day on, it's never going to happen again. I haven't seen it, but I just wanted you to understand that. No one falls on deaf ears here. We know, and it's so wrong. And I don't know what the heck we would all do if all the people that are so vulnerable were the ones that are thrown away. Shame on us. I don't know, but this is the way it's set up. I'm sorry, Tom.
Legislator Jacobs, I'm hoping that we're taking this step in the right direction
I hope
today.
so. I think so.
And hopefully set the stage for future years.
I sincerely hope so.
I hope so
too.
too. Okay, as a former teacher, all right, and with most of my children who were at risk, it was an imperative, to do everything I could to make sure that they didn't fall through the cracks, and this is something I know that none of us want to see.
And as a former teacher, I agree.
Okay, Antoinette Lewis, is she still here? No? Okay, I'm sorry that she had to leave. Joseph Smith, I know is there.
Presiding Officer Gonzalez, Minority Leader Abrahams, and all members of the legislature, I'd like to thank you for perhaps putting a smile on our face at some point in the near future. It's not quite there yet, because we know that there's still some steps that have to be taken, but it's certainly reassuring to see the 19 people here, each and every one of you, prepared to do what needs to be done to make sure that this abomination does not occur. The loss of youth services in Nassau County would be absolutely foolhardy on every level. The costs would be incalculable, to say nothing of the wasted lives that would occur. I want to, before I forget, Legislator Becker, I do want to say, as you are one of our legislators, we do have a program, in addition to the programs that we operate in Long Beach and Port Washington. We also operate a program in Lynbrook, and you have always been a strong supporter of our agency and most importantly of the residents and the kids in Nassau County and in the city of the village of Lynbrook. So I wanted to thank you. I know that you're moving on to hopefully greener pastures, but I appreciate everything that you've done.
Yeah, he could use a comma.
He'll never be calm.
He'll be calmer.
But to get back to the point at hand, I know that this is now going to be something that is going to depend in part on NYPA. But I didn't elect NYPA. Neither did you. Neither did anyone in this room. So, quite frankly, if they don't accept whatever it is that you've come up with, then we all have a responsibility to hold them accountable. The reality is that we cannot let the children of Nassau County and the families of Nassau County suffer. We cannot allow politics or special interests or anything else get in the way of the provision of the essential services that our kids deserve. Last time I recall, we fought a war for an issue. No taxation without representation. You were the ones that we elected. The county executive we elected. We did not elect NYPA. So frankly, we've got to make sure, if you've come up with a plan, that whatever negotiations have to take place, that nobody leaves the room until agreement is reached and the kids of Nassau County are protected. That's what you were elected to do. That's what the county executive was elected to do. And ultimately, that's what the governor was elected to do. And all of you equally are responsible for the outcome. So I'm thrilled that you have put party aside, you've come together, you've said, here is a viable plan, here is something that can work to resolve the problem, and that can protect the kids, and protect the bus, and protect the firefighters, and protect the municipalities and the villages.
Your 3 minutes have expired.
Okay.
But I do believe that now we have to make sure that that plan stands. And so we have been voicing our views to everyone. And our constituents, our participating youth and parents have been voicing their views to each of you, to the county executive, and to NYFA. And we intend to continue that until we know that this issue has been resolved. Going forward, and I do hope that this is the beginning of a commitment to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Discretionary means a choice. That's what you're elected to do, to make choices. Hard choices, but choices. It's not mandated. You can't take the easy way out. You have to make a conscious and deliberate choice, as you are now, to say that this is not going to be on the chopping block. Well, you're going to have to make that choice again and again and again, unless and until it becomes mandated. But that's a choice that you're elected to make. And we expect that you're going to continue to make that choice on behalf of the children and families of Nassau County. And we hope that as we move forward, from this point forward, that the message is clear, that it rings loud and clear, that no matter how bad things may get, that you're not going to make a choice to hurt children and families. Thank you for your support, and I hope that we will have smiles on our faces.
I do too, Joseph, I really do. I have to say to you that the past few days has been very promising, and I do hope that before we leave this chamber today, we will be putting forth a plan that's going to secure those programs that are very dear to us. And not only that, I'm hoping when we submit it to NYFA, that NYFA says, okay, and doesn't tell us no good. So that's where you're going to come in, and we're going to need your help.
Okay.
Okay, legislative board.
You can sit down. Thank you. I just want to say on behalf of all of us, thank you very much for your remarks and actually your understanding of the situation that we're facing right now. You know, as you know, every single one of us cares about all of our agencies, the youth groups, our firefighters, you know, so this is right now a difficult time, and we're trying our best to make sure that everybody is protected. And if you looked at even the budget, some of the amendments that either side proposed, every single one of us voted on something that, with a budget that would have protected all of you anyway. So to find ourselves right now with NYFA breathing down our back in regard to all of this is very unsettling. But you know that we're all of one mind up here, and the same mind is to make sure that we do take care of the people that rely on us the most. So thank you very much, and we're hoping that we all leave here smiling and we all have a very good Thanksgiving.
Legislative Becker.
Mr. Smith, thank you for your kind words. The feeling is absolutely mutual. It's been a pleasure working with you since being on the legislature, Mr. Boyle and Mr. Bruno and others that may be here. I've met with many of the different youth leaders, youth program leaders. I've visited many of the programs and found them absolutely spectacular and truly important when it comes to serving our young people. And I commend the work that you do. The only regret is that we have situations like this, but I have to tell you, I've often said there's never been a good day here, but there may be a good day coming that I may be happy to say before I leave, because I have to tell you, and Judy will attest to this, the youth groups have always been, the youth program has always been our baby here at the legislature, and sometimes you've been put in the crosshairs, and we've, I think, tried our very best each and every time to make sure that the programs continue. But today, I think if things go as planned, it will be a pretty amazing day, because it's unprecedented, at least that I know of, where women's, both the minority and majority are really, really tight, and the county executive is on board, and we're all agreed, I can't believe this, but we're all agreed on the plan that hopefully, and I'm very confident that NICO will be supportive of it, because it's a good plan, and that there will be no need for any, terrible things to happen moving forward as far as the program is concerned. But I thank the Minority Leader, Kevin Abrams, and all my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, and my colleagues on the Republican side, and of course I'm grateful to our county executive, because I think maybe it's the kids who can finally bring us together, and will bring us together today. So this may, if everything goes well, may be one good day. That's one of these kids I've been here. No, I actually will be very happy, because I feel a kumbaya moment with all of us here at the legislature. There's no party here right now amongst the 19 of us and the county executive. There's no party, it's just about the kids, and that's our primary focus. There are other things. Our firefighters are very important to us too, and the other programs that may be on the line, but I think that I compliment the presiding officer, the Minority Leader, Kevin Abrams, and your entire side of the aisle there for us coming together for this. And as I said, I hope if we can get this, if we can get this done today, maybe we will in fact have a very happy Thanksgiving, and we'll have a good day here. But thank you again for your kind words, and once again, it's been a pleasure over the last 20 years working with each and every one of you. I've always seen your dedication. I've seen your love for these kids, and I've always seen the true importance of the work that you do. And I've said this before, but you do God's work each and every day with those kids. So I thank you for that. Thank you.
Anthony Jenkins. Is it right? Is it so? Did Anthony do this too? Sorry, I don't quite Stephanie and Ethan Grant. Are you here? Okay, here we go. Stephanie and Eden, are you coming up here?
Just press that red button there.
Okay. Who's Stephanie, who's Eden?
I'm Eden, and I'm Stephanie.
Okay. Now tell us what's on your mind.
Like
we don't know.
Good afternoon. I am the Junior Ambassador for Choice of Law Youth Services Program. To be cutting funding from this program, it would be a very bad disservice to us, because there are a lot of children that need our program. It's a safe environment, and it provides homework, and we do a lot of activities, and it's just good for children to go ahead and be there instead of going ahead and aimlessly walking around in the streets. Because we've seen it before with our own eyes, like there'd just be random small kids just running around, and then they would one day, become hurt. And we wouldn't want that happening, and to us, this means a lot to us. So, yeah.
Good job. Bring it up.
I'm from Roosevelt.
Okay. Eden, you don't want to say anything?
Support.
Okay. So you gave her support, but she did a good job. Did she do a good job?
Yes.
Yes, she did.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. And you have something to say too?
Yes, I am their mother.
I would be proud, mother.
Thank you. The youth services has been a part of my life for over 20 years. My mother has been a director of one program in Port Washington. So I've seen generations of families affected by these programs. Seen the impact that they can have, good, better, and different. I don't feel that this is a decision that is so difficult. I think what needs to be done is just, well, get down to finding how it can be mandated so no one ever again has to figure out where their next meal is coming from. See, when you lose these agencies, not only the families that are affected by these go through a distress, so does the families of the people running the agencies. It's a simple thing. Get it mandated, whatever the problem is, that it keeps, coming up this way. Get it mandated so that these things are never in distress again, and the families don't have to worry about it. The ones running it and the ones receiving the aid. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pat Boyle, last summer, I believe I had the opportunity to come and visit your center, and I was overwhelmed when I saw the work that you do. And I said, why can't you do this all year round? Well, it takes money to do it, correct?
Right.
Because it's a very worthwhile program. So I'm glad that I was able to come and visit. I don't have any programs in my district, but that doesn't mean that the programs in other districts don't mean anything to me. They do. They truly do. All right, I have Richard Brummer. Where'd you go? I thought I saw you somewhere. Okay, Richard. And then I have one more individual after Mr. Brummer.
Can I submit a written statement as well?
I have just the written statement.
Written statement.
I've got a written statement, okay. Is that what you did back there?
No, he wants to submit a written statement as well.
Richard, do you have a written statement? Is that what you have?
To what? Okay, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I have a statement that I've been planning to give to you for some time regarding the traffic crisis in Nassau County. So I submitted that in writing. I think everyone who lives in Nassau County understands that traffic is out of control. There's too many cars on the roads. They're not managed properly. It's a dangerous situation for pedestrians, for other drivers. That's one issue I really urge this legislature to address. And I submitted a number of suggestions, one of which is to have human control of key traffic intersections. If that interests any of you, then just take a look at that. I also submitted a brief statement about the bus cutbacks, which I find to be just morally reprehensible, and there's a statement about that. But the bigger issue that I'd like to address is saving Nassau County from itself, because I'm going to read my statement. It seems boorish to focus on policy issues when the issue really is government itself when it comes to Nassau County. Newsday is doing Pulitzer Prize level analysis of the way politics operates in Nassau, and it is truly shocking. I watched several policy fiascos in my narrow environmental advocacy here, the cutting all the trees on South Road Survey Road, the privatization of Christopher Park that included the gutting of the center of the small public forest there, and the destruction of part of the coastal forest at Cedar Creek water treatment plant. The common thread was the violation of state environmental law. But this is a government that has no shame, and Newsday has indicated to us why. It is a government dominated by one party that seems to act like a criminal enterprise to judge from the Newsday coverage, and the other party that is a foil and acts as an enabler, probably because it too benefits from the status quo. We all know the man at the center of the Newsday series was outed by leaks from disgruntled employees, but there are far smoother operators in this county with far more wealth and power and influence who would never be so easily caught, and they continue to operate behind the scenes. This is a county where money flows like water,
Our traffic jams are collections of millions and millions of dollars of rolling capital goods. The homes here are skyrocketing in value, and as apparently all real estate is. The stores and malls are jammed, and the harbors are full of boats and yachts. How is it the bus system is broken down, is shrinking, leaving maids and disabled people standing in the cold and rain from excessive periods by the side of busy roads? The buses are only the most visible aspect of this dysfunction. Almost every Nassau County agency with which I have dealt with seems to be hopelessly incompetent. You're talking about DPW, a whole raft of agencies. DPW certainly when it came to the environment. Your former colleague David Dannenberg, for his flaws, had a burning desire to serve. He was bold and passionate in his effort to think through policy issues, from the little advice I saw from him in public. Today is the 52nd anniversary of the day John F. Kennedy was assassinated, another man with flaws, but who was among great American leaders. I ask you, is there a single person on this legislature who can fulfill the mandate that leaders like John F. Kennedy asked of you? Now is an inflection point in New York State. We have the corruption here is for all to see now in the news and in the federal courts. It's also a new state.
Your 3 minutes have expired, Mr. Brown.
May I just wrap it up for a moment?
Please wrap it up. Thank you.
Okay. All right. It's time for a change in Nassau County. We've reached a breaking point for those who are thinking about these things. The Pope has told us in unmistakable terms that the planet is being destroyed. And what needs to be done is changing the trajectory. It's a moral issue, it's a practical issue, especially for Nassau County, which is right at the front lines of climate change and global environmental changes. But I would urge the one person on this board, on this legislature, who can speak the truth and who can be a John F. Kennedy kind of figure, at least in the small sphere of Nassau County, to do that. Because if you don't do it, no one's doing it. Okay? You're putting these kids, you give these people money for the children's programs, but they grow up to face crises in economic crises, political crises, cultural crises, and environmental crises. And these are all places where government needs to operate well beyond giving some money to after-school programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Okay, our final speaker is Maureen O'Connell.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. My name is Maureen O'Connell. For the record, I'm the County Clerk of Nassau, Clerk of the Supreme and County Courts, and good afternoon to all the legislators. I'm here today again because, much to my surprise, a new proposal has been put forward, which rather than cuts my proposed fee increases by half, now restores them to the outrageously high fee increases that you seek to impose on recordings filed with the Nassau County Clerk's Office. So I'm here again to reiterate to you my letter of October 8th, which I wrote to all of you saying that I vehemently oppose these fee increases. I know you have budgetary challenges, and I'm not unsympathetic to those, but to raise the cost of recording a deed, a mortgage, or satisfaction of mortgage by over 5,200% is literally outrageous. To pay off your mortgage, people are going to be spending hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of dollars for services that don't mean anything to them. So I'm here to ask you to reconsider these fee increase proposals. It's going to impact every senior citizen, every veteran. This comes again, drops out of the sky, out of the blue. I could have helped you maybe work this through a little bit in a more palatable fashion, like maybe exempt veterans from these fee increases, maybe exempt seniors from these fee increases, maybe exempt first-time home buyers from these fee increases. No dialogue. You're just throwing these fees on top of an already burdened real estate market and homeowner in Nassau County. I urge you to oppose these increases. Thank you. Thank you for your time this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ms. O'Connell.
Yes,
Good afternoon,
yes.
Ms. O'Connell. How are you tonight?
How are you?
Good afternoon, Ms. O'Connell. How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you.
That's great. You mentioned that this would affect the real estate market. Are any of these fee increases coming with any improved efficiencies in your office?
We're as efficient as we can be. My staff is down to the lowest it's been in decades, and we're generating revenue for this county hand over fist, and the efficiencies are in red in some of the new databases that we have installed in our county, and we have what we call real-time recording. That means it comes through the door one day, it's processed almost the very same day.
Okay, but with these fee increases...
So what you're trying to say, will these increases cause me to have additional product by which I can increase services to the county?
Yes.
No, it's just really a revenue grab, in my view. And there's also a proposal here for a tax map verification fee. If any of you know what that is, it might be helpful to you when you consider whether or not you're going to vote on it. It's basically the payment for a service for really nothing, no service. It's justified in counties wherein the county doesn't have its own rate assessment system like in Suffolk per se, but for somebody to pay to have their section block and lot verified on the 4th floor, and then come down to my office to record it on the 1st floor for a service that does nothing but generate a review of the section block and lot from a database that's erroneous. It's just mind-boggling in my view, and I believe it may potentially be illegal and just really a tax, a fee, but really a tax because it doesn't really pay for a service.
So my question for you is,
yes.
you said that you wanted to exempt first-time home buyers.
I would have made
Would the fee increase
suggestions.
here discourage people from moving to Nassau County?
I would have certainly worked with any of you who may have reached out to search for ways to maybe generate some revenue without putting this terrible burden on the homeowners of Nassau County. We could have incentivized veterans, senior citizens, first-time homebuyers. So locally, unresearched and explored. So again, I would urge you to vote against this proposal. I thank you for your time, especially interrupting in the middle of your session today, but I felt so strongly about it, I wanted to be here in person to tell you my objection. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maureen?
Yes.
Just to you understand that NIFA is
Yes.
trying to force this kind of make draconian cuts.
Yes.
That includes cuts to the youth services,
Yes.
to the Long Bus, as well as feed, as well as the villages.
Yes.
That once you
Share.
take action between now and the 30th, that all that's on the table. You know that, they can also, I guess, reach into any department and make additional cuts. And so you understand the context in which we're considering this item.
I certainly do, and I'm not unsympathetic, certainly.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all again.
That's the end of public participation. That concludes public participation, and before we can proceed, we're waiting for what we've been waiting for. I'm going to recess it. We have something?
Eileen Daly, South from Department of Assessment. I spoke to a representative from the Department of Assessment, and she is unable to come here today, but she would like to meet with you either tomorrow or Wednesday, whatever is convenient.
Okay. I guess we can. You want to untable it? Hold on. How soon do you think we will get, we're going to be, the last meeting in full legislature meeting is going to be December 21st. But the committees are December 7th. It may be necessary for us to, probably, I don't know, I'm just trying to think. On the 7th of December. I'm going to put this meeting in recess. On December the 7th, hopefully we'll get the information so that I can reconvene this meeting and untable that item.
I'll ask the person from assessment to be here and available to
Please,
you.
all right, get the information. If that person doesn't have that information beforehand, I think, you know what, we definitely need it before.
Okay.
And to have the day of the meeting is not a good thing.
Before December 7th.
Yes, so that we call this item on the 7th, provided we have the information that's requested.
Okay.
No, and we need the list also.
Yeah, that's what she's getting.
Yes, that's the list. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Very important. Yes. Mayor, I understand you had a comment.
I had a comment with
All right,
regard to
come on.
resolution number
Since we're all sitting
95.
here waiting for the most important item. Dave, let's go, let's go.
Me to Jay Mariday, and I think any item that a resident and a taxpayer has to bring to the forefront is important. The let's go, I think that was definitely unnecessary. It had to do with item 95, that resolution that was tabled with regard to the tax rolls. I want to definitely applaud Legislator Curran as well as Legislator DeRicci Wicken with regard to bringing up some pressing issues and just looking over this document that all of you have staff as well as support systems to read this ahead of time. Looking at resolution item number 71 and 78, where we're talking about addressing erroneous assessments and taxes in accordance with petitions, I also question just how valid this assessment process is going to be under resolution number 245 when you are also looking at addressing some erroneous assessments and taxes. So as you're compiling this list of potential properties that are going to be assessed even further, we need to look at, again, who we're putting in these places of operation to review the heart blood of us mortgage payers who are here. And I definitely am glad that I was here to hear what the clerk, the county clerk, who is going to be addressing these increases that those of us who are fighting the increased number of zombie houses on our streets have to impact. Because my earlier questions were not addressed as to who are we vetting in terms of these consultants and resources and companies that are coming in to do this work, particularly now as it pertains to assessments. Because you're going to have these municipalities and locations that have increased assessments and filing fees. Who do you think is going to be paying for these tax increases when there's no one left in the buildings because we have to keep filing and then paying higher fees to fight the filing for something that was done erroneously to begin with? So now I am done. You all can do the rest of the waiting because now I have to continue my work to pay for the mortgages and, as I said, the increased filing fees just to stay here. And again, if we do not put our veterans first, and as someone said earlier, if we don't mandate our programs for youth services, mandate our programs for veteran services, and mandate our programs for senior citizens, and those essential elements of our quality of life, this county is going to completely go down the drain. I'm done.
I'm going to recess the ledge and move on to the Rules Committee. And there are several items on the Rules Committee that we can address. So I'm going to reconvene for the Rules Committee. I'm going to need a motion to suspend suspend the rules because the items that are going to be put, contracts that are being advanced by agenda. So motion to suspend the rules, moved by legislator Dunn, second by legislator Priscilla. All those in favor of suspending the rules signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The rules are suspended. Okay. And we have the first one. Now this is just for rules, people. These are contracts, and the first contract is E-223, a contract with DPW and Johnson and Pope. And I believe we have someone here to speak on this item. Mr. Arnold. Okay, good, thank you. Go ahead. Motion? Oh, I'm sorry. I moved by legislator Dunn, seconded by legislator Nicolau. Nope.
I would like to move with Richard, you know, like.
No problem, no problem. Okay, I think all right, so we can move by legislator Dunn, seconded by legislator Jacob. Go ahead, Mr. Arnold.
All right, 223 is a design contract to look at traffic safety improvements on Roslyn Road from Robbins Drive in East Boston to Long Expressway. This contract will look at various alternatives to make the road safer for both pedestrian and vehicle traffic.
Any questions of Mr. Arnold on this contract? Legislator Jacobs?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Okay, so I have a few questions. I mean, to get it on a record, this is Roslyn Road, which has had 4 fatalities in the last 3 years. And what this is really doing is trying to design the road, design the improvements to make it a safer roadway for everybody.
That's correct.
Okay. So I want to ask you something. In the first part of the contract summary, it says traffic signal modification will be included.
That's correct.
Okay, but does that type of terminology include the fact that a new traffic light should be included?
We will look at we've already done some more analysis work on this roadway. We'll look at it again after the other improvements are studied. The one point to note is that a traffic signal does not control speed. So a warrant for a traffic signal just to slow people down cannot be done. We have to look at other parts of the road and other improvements. If those improvements include a signal, that is fine, but on its merit by itself, a traffic signal cannot be installed just to control speed on a roadway. That's against the MUTCD.
But when they do the study, they'll be studying the possibility. It'll be part of their study, I assume.
I think the department has looked at it as a standalone solution, but has not looked at it with other improvements that the roadway will be looked at. We talked about lane guiding, if that was something that would be warranted at this location or not, or looking at putting the turnoff on the Locust Lane. But as we redesign the road, we'll do another analysis to see if the signal will be warranted once that improvement is implemented.
Well, look, I'm not in public works, but I've got to tell you something, honestly. And hopefully I'm right, if the Locust Lane cutoff disappears, and if there is a construction of a true right turn lane off of Roslyn Road, which is number 1 in safety, number 2 would be a true left turn area coming south. There's no question in my mind you're going to have to include a traffic light because Locust Lane is a major cut through to schools and South Service Road, and nobody has to really go down Roslyn Road and hit all the lights if they just go right down Locust Lane, which takes them right through a residential community. So I think, I'm giving my suggestion on the record, I think that we must realize that that has to be a part of any solution here.
Right, which is why it's included in the design contract, but please understand that a signal has to meet certain criteria to be installed. We don't know if that, until we lay out the improvement and then we study what the impact of that improvement will have on traffic, car counts, and pedestrians. At that point, the signal will be decided whether it's part of that new intersection or not. But we both can suppose what we think should happen, but until we count the numbers, That's what dictates whether the department will actually warrant a signal or not, based on the actual counts of what will occur once this new intersection is constructed.
All right, let's go for a minute to Exhibit A, Division 2, where it says scope includes one-lane suggestion, but will also include other, and I'm asking you, I understand it's talking about the suggested one lane, which of course has been causing a lot of upset both for the school district that's there, and 2 temples that are there, and a shopping center that's there. And I'm not an expert, I'm not telling you what to do, but just correct me if I'm wrong, this is a design contract.
That is correct. We are not constructing anything with this contract. It is study and design. The proposed vendor will put together a model showing the impact of whatever we decide to move forward on.
Right.
We call that a synchro analysis. You'll actually see what will occur based on modeling and traffic counts, whether we decide to reduce the lane, not reduce the lane, put turn lanes in, and we'll be able to understand the impact, which can be presented to the public and to yourself, and then decisions can be made.
All right, that was my main question, and why did I move this out? No, all right, that's really the main questions I have. After they present this to you, you will then, I assume, present it to myself and probably legislator Nicolello, and then we could give it out, or talk to the community about what the suggestions are.
Yeah,
The point is, will there be room for input by everybody?
Yes, we will present it to yourselves and the public, and we can have a discussion and talk about the negative and positive impacts of the project, and then decisions will be made on how we move forward. That's correct.
All right. Okay, I'm trusting you guys that, because I mean, I would hate to see the improvements to Locust Lane and Roslyn Road. And I'm not disagreeing or agreeing on the lanes. I'm not an expert on that. But I'm seeing enough aggravation that I know people that have had cars in their yards, cars on their driveways, cars two young people were not killed when they recently were drag racing on the 2 lanes going north. Their cars flipped, but thank God they were wearing seatbelts. I mean, I'm honest with you, it's like really a mess. So I'm not standing here standing like an expert telling you what to do, ever. I would never do that. But please give us the time in between presentation, and I'm not saying forever. I'm saying to let the people know what's on the drawing board.
Yeah, so the departments push always to involve the legislators on any project we work on.
Fair enough. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Deputy Presiding Officer Nicolello.
Thank you. I'm happy to join with Judy in moving this, and she's taken the lead on this safety issue. There's been a lot of misunderstanding in the community. People thought that it was going to be changed to 1 lane imminently, and the construction was about to start. So, as Judy asked you, this contract is for study and design, correct?
Yes, it is. There's no construction in this contract. It will either come back to the body for a separate contract for construction, or if it's a very small contract, it would be a work order. But a lane guiding contract would be of such magnitude that we'd be back in front of you for that.
I would just echo Judy's comments that that before you even move to the design stage, after they finish the study stage, to come back to us.
Yes.
With whatever you've understood from the study. Also, if you could include all of the stakeholders, Judy can tell you, Temple Sinai, constituents, East Walton School District. I'd like to get their input in terms of what changes we make.
The department has no issue with if we come to this body and then you guys can help get the stakeholders to the table. We can do that also to make sure we don't miss anybody.
All right. I want to make sure that they're part of this study.
Yeah.
So
They're imperative, because what Richard and I have realized, and I know you have through me, that this is what they're saying makes sense to a great degree, and should be taken very seriously.
Yeah, we're doing a similar walk on a project in Walden on Grand Avenue with the lane guiding, traffic calming, and working with the legislative currents office, doing the same thing, so we don't miss any constituents on this.
All right. Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Arnold? Any public comment? There being none, all those in favor of these 2 presented 3 signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? A for the item passes unanimously. Okay. The next contract is E-224, a contract with DPW and LK McLean Associates PC. Motion, please. Moved by legislator Dunn, second by legislator Nicolao. Okay.
Sean Sally with the Nassau County Department of Public Works. This is a proposed contract with LK McLean Associates for a drainage improvement study and 30% design in the hamlets of Barnum Island and Harbor Isle, southern portion of the county. This project was conceived as part of the New York Rising Community Reconstruction planning process that concluded back in 2014. This project is also fully funded through Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery funds that are essentially HUD funding coming through the state to the county.
Okay. Presiding Officer Nicolao.
My only issue is I don't know that we've gotten a full disclosure. It's what was in my package in the background. We had, the first page was Appendix B, payment schedule. The second page was page 2 of the disclosure form. So I don't know if anyone else has a full disclosure for this item.
Do we have it? Especially that one.
This is Richie.
Talking about the disclosure statement in the back.
Do you want Patrick Kieran to go back and get it right now? Just it'll take 2 seconds. We'll get it right now.
If he has it.
Yeah, get 7 or 2.
Let's not refuse, just print me out.
All right, I'm okay. Council has a book on it. Okay, thanks.
Any other comments or questions regarding this contract? Any public comment? There being none, all those in favor of E-224 signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Yes, the contract passes unanimously. Okay, the next one is E-225, contract with DPW and Henson Engineering PC. Motion, please. Moved by legislator Dunn, second by legislator Bell. And who do we have here?
Good afternoon, Robert LeBlanc from DPW. The contract that you have before you today is for construction management services for the new 4th Precinct Station House. This project will be extremely involved. It is a very logistically tight site, and it also involves the reams of paperwork involved in dealing with the federal funding. This firm was evaluated by our staff at DPW, ranked very high, number 1 out of 10 firms. We contacted the top 3 rated firms, and in an effort to compare apples with apples, asked all 3 firms to modify their fees based on a set number of man-hours that we anticipated to be involved with the firm. And we also asked the number 1 rated firm, Ensign, if they could sharpen their pencil a little bit, which they did. That's the fee that's noted in your package as the revised cost. That fee represents a great value for the county, taking into account all the other nuances of the project that will be involved. It is a minimum of an 18-month construction duration, and we anticipate having a good working relationship with this firm rather than our normal casts of characters that we always deal with. It's nice to have a fresh face. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer at this time.
Minority Leader Abrahams.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon.
Just a quick question. Our backup reflects that we got 10 proposals. However, I only count 9 as what I'm seeing here. I have Ensign, Jacobs, Cashin, Hacks, Gibb, STV, Vertex, Mark Design, Elite.
Yeah, that may be a typo, as I remember it, being one of the people that did conduct the review, being involved in the review. These are the firms that did sign, so that may just be a typo.
Okay. No, that's fine. Just want to make sure we didn't miss anything out. All right.
Any other comments or questions? Any public comment? There being none, all those in favor of contract E-225 signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay, the contract passes unanimously. Okay, the next one is E-226, contract with DPW announcement of Pope engineers and surveyors. Motion, please. Moved by legislator Dunn, second by legislator Hall. Okay.
Similar to the Barnum Island Harbor Isle drainage study and design, this is a drainage study and 30% design for the hamlet of Bay Park and Village of East Rockaway, also fully funded through the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program. The county is a subrecipient to the state on those funds. The contract goes with Nelson Pope. I'd also like to mention that, and as with the Barnum Island study, the state set forth a 30% WMBE utilization goal. The Nelson Pope team does come in at a 30% utilization goal, and they will be held to that for the duration of the contract, should it be approved here today.
Any questions on this contract? Any questions on this contract? Any public comment?
Yes, actually.
Who has anything? Okay, we're now reading the bond.
How are you? I just had some technical questions about the MWB and DV utilization forms that are submitted. Can you just elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. The state requires that the 30% WMBE utilization for contracts that are using the disaster relief funding. They actually request or require a 15 minority and 15 women-owned business split. So the forms that are included with the contract are to catalog the proposed utilization. During the course of the contract, the state has actually set up an electronic reporting program that the county and the vendor or the contractor will be required to report those work hours, those man hours, on a rolling basis to ensure that the utilization is actually meeting the goals and the requirements of the program.
So the county's compliance officer, who would that be the controller?
Or
to ensure that there's compliance with the utilization that you're discussing.
It's actually going to be the state. It's their program that will be reporting.
No, that part I understand, but who? I guess to ensure that the county contractors are doing their part, who's watching it on the county level? Anybody?
Well, we are as the project manager.
So basically between yourself and I guess the Office of Minority Affairs.
Right, that's correct.
Would you guys be cross-referencing the data that you're seeing? I mean, how do you, I'm not too sure. I'm talking more in regards to the utilization numbers matching.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have what's proposed, and then we will be keeping a running track, using the software that's provided. We actually have to submit our reimbursement claims to the state. The state submits that to HUD, and then HUD can cut the check. So, there's sort of that check and balance there. So if our utilization goals or the state's utilization goals are not being met, there would be a delay in payment until that is corrected, and that's could also be a negative finding, which we are not, looking to have happen. So again, as the and I just, forgive me, I'm not sure if it's going to be on a monthly or a quarterly basis. Those numbers will have to be reported directly by the vendor, by the contractor. The county will be able to follow those in real time and then submit that to the state.
And the Office of Minority Affairs is checking this as it goes along?
We are, essentially, Public Works as the project manager is primary on reporting. I'm sorry, on ensuring that the contractor is reporting and the numbers are matching the goals that were in the proposal.
So what's the role of Minority Affairs, Office of Minority Affairs, if any at all?
Guidance if there are any questions, but as far as watching the numbers to make sure they line up with the goals and with what was submitted, that's the Department of Public Works.
The council's advised me that they're supposed to be doing site visits as well. Are you aware of that?
Who is supposed to be?
The Office of Minority Affairs is supposed to be doing site visits in regards to each of the implementation of each of the contracts.
Okay. Right. This exactly. This is a study and a 30% design contract. So this is not the construction. So there is no at the site yet until we get to that.
No, well, I guess what council means, but when you say actual spot checking their work, what she means by on the site is not site like construction. She means site in reference to like site at the site where you're identifying your work, checking it at your site. I guess the DPW office per se. So how are they verifying the documents that they're coming in, that they're actually in compliance?
Well, I believe they will have, and again, any office of the county that would like to have access can have access to the state reporting system. So if there's if there's an issue with, articulating the numbers or there's some gray area in how they're being reported, they can have access to that system.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments on contract E-226? Public comment. There being none, all those in favor of E-226 signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The contract passes unanimously. The next one is contract E-227, contract with DPW and Jacobs Project Management Company. Motion please. Moved by legislator Dunn, second by legislator Nichols. Okay.
Good afternoon, Robert LeBlanc from DPW. The contract that you have before you this afternoon is personal service agreement for construction management services for the new 8th precinct station house and garage building. This is a federally funded project similar to the one I previously discussed that will involve a tremendous amount of paperwork and record keeping. We received RFP responses from 9 firms. The firm Hacks was rated number 1. The firm Jacobs that we are discussing this contract with was rated number 2. Basically a statistical tie in their rating scores. We asked both firms, again in an effort to compare apples with apples, to prepare revised cost estimates based on a specific number of man-hours involved on the project and staffing levels involved on the project. We received revised costs from both firms, and the firm of Jacobs, we were able to realize a significant cost savings, and this represents the best monetary expenditure for the county on this project. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them at this time.
Any public comment? There being none, all those in favor of E-227 signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item passes unanimous. Thank you very much.
Any idea what the rate grant on this?
Hopefully, legislator Dunn will issue the notice to proceed around the end of December or first of the year. We expect to break ground approximately 3 months after that, as there's a tremendous amount of shop drawings and review process that has to be done initially. Thank you.
The next contract is D-228, a contract with DPW and Director Bartolucci Consulting Engineers. Motion to present, moved by legislator Capone, second by legislator Dunn, and we have Mr. Arnold.
E-228 is a construction management contract associated with 2 construction contracts, rehabilitate pump stations that were impacted by Sandy and also the Hardman. This contract, DMD was found to be the highest qualified bidder, proposer, and it's reimbursable through the $810 million through the Stafford Act.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Arnold?
This is on 228, right?
Yes, we are.
How are you, Mr. Arnold? Just wanted to ask you a quick question about the utilization plans. We didn't see them. Are they planned to be submitted later, or are there going to be waivers?
They plan on being submitted later. We are changing our process right now to have the utilization plans approved prior to coming to this body. That's not the case in some of the older contracts that we bid a while back. But they will be submitted to OMA and also to Public Works for review. And being that this is a FEMA contract, they'll be looking at whatever goals are required for that contract.
Great. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Any public comment? There being none, all those in favor of D-228 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the contract passes unanimously. Okay, I believe that ends the contracts. That is the fourth, correct?
Yeah.
So now, Mr. Legislator Dunn, a motion to adjourn. Moved by legislator Dunn, second by legislator Nicolao, all those in favor of adjourning to the Rules Committee, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay, the Rules Committee is now adjourned. Thank you very much.
So in fairness, you said something that with that. I thought it could have been more. Then he spoke about our shirt. I put it, so we modified it. Not only that we're maintaining it.
Yes. That's right. I don't want to use
They just took it up.
I would just have to remember to charge that.
He got frustrated.
Okay, so what about us? Yeah. Leader's a leader.
It's strong.
It has to be more than
Okay, I'm still in the meeting, but I'm going to sign in a second.
He keeps saying.
No.
Well, he was the right thing tonight. It shows.
It's okay.
I'm glad I'm not the wrong queen. Because I do and then I said even at East Atlantic Beach. Oh, I'm not going to one that not yet. It's like, well, I know grants, you know, travel that way. And I said that to we all have them. Yeah, we all have them. So like, mine is in one. We usually have more. Oh, yeah. You know what, it's, I was just debating whether or not it's not. Oh, the other guy. Yeah. So I don't. How long have you been? I don't know. I just. We ended up down to the accident. So we had to, we sat there and watch that whole process. So. I didn't know, I thought it was a throwback, so. So like I say to God. It'll be that embarrassing, the whole thing. When she was in one end, and I'm at the other. Diane couldn't do it, she had to like sit there, and like I go to look at her, and she won't look at me, Roger can just look at her, and realizes that we're focusing on this guy, and he just, the three of us had to sit there, none of us told that, we all had to sit there because we were crying. I would laugh.
No, I'm smiling. I'm smiling.
What do you think was sitting here?
God is the so now we can, so sure it out. And she's beauty with no
Okay. As soon as I can get
we do.
I mean, I would get frustrated right now.
So it won't be a risk. It's not. Okay.
Yeah. Did you see that?
It's not good. Yeah, that was my mistake.
When you're already like this, exactly, yeah, elected and whatever, right? You're going to find whatever. When I was first and I was like sitting here and a lot of times I was like, you want to say something. With the Democrats and whatever, but it was funny because Patty was my assistant, Vicky, and I said, So I got benefits. It came down an hour of my benefits. You cover my You didn't work for years. Yeah, maybe you should go to New York City. That house, New York City has it. Boils like, Robinson stuff. No. The conditions. My commission. And then they, it's terrible. And this year I used to read about it. It's called whole players. The elevator doesn't work. Yeah. Let's just, it's the steam, when they, the pipes going up to the apartment. I agree, they should be free to build. Because a lot of these kids, they get asthma and everything like that because they use so much.
I'm sorry, so where
They should segment that stuff by county. There's 5 counties.
That's great.
Yes. Even like the school district in New York City. Looking at different, I mean, people. Oh, it's coming already. Brooklyn, Staten, that's a question. Pull up the children and stuff. My cousin used to teach Flora. Programs, and then I worked with them like the parents that would like in schools celebrate not only wine, but they had to get on so they so the next morning I took my truck. I said, Dave, you want me to stand on the line where so you can sit in the truck for a while until morning? He said, no, if I can't do I can't get up.
Well, I don't know if I have the latest
Right to
version.
the morning. So, but
I have something here.
The mayor's good, we have our president, things like that. But it should be the same concept. a lot of people in contracts or bodies. I used to work as a technician, I also worked in Manhattan. So, even when I would like phone, I repaired and installed telephone lines, data lines, and everything like that. Oh, all right. Why there? I went in, what year did she go in? 73. She went in, oh, okay. Yes. As a matter of fact, I went into Switzerland. I went into the central office for a while, so I was a switchman. And like the guys used to try to get me to go out to splicing, but I said I do not want to go for a man. I was afraid of the rats. But I ended up going out and I was in the line day, so I was out there. Yeah. Well, your sister had to do splicing. Yeah. I worked in Queens, South. I loved it. Yeah. So she was in Manhattan? Yeah. In Manhattan, we didn't go to the polls, but we did a lot of basic work and things like that. So, but when I went out, but I loved it. I loved it. And in the cold, no, it wasn't bad. I had my helmet, I had my car. Did you go up to no, I grew up in Queens. So, yeah. And the only reason why I went for a job is because like these guys, one of my friends, he works for me. Hundreds of women to do my doors. So I went down and I applied and got it. And when I got most of it, so when I showed up, I said to my husband, I said, so where are you from? And he says, you're in Honey. He's like, what do you mean? So I called my friend up, I said, John, excuse me. He said, I told you the truth, you never would have done it. And I said, you're right. I just thought that I would just retire. I love town. I did 25 years. At that time, they had finished with that contract. It was one time, our time is so we got 6 years on our age, 6 years on our time. And this extra bump up. So I put my papers in. Yeah. So I retired as about 31 years, and I was 48 when I retired. So, but it was as good as yeah, so yeah. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. So now I'm like, doing this. Maybe I'll just go here. And that's where I'm like, because I don't have another job. I just do this, so I have more time and everything. I feel really like everybody has like these other jobs and they have to go to years ago, we talked about one is the salary. She's got busy It would have been like built in, whatever. So, yeah, we should be getting, I think, what I want. Senator, what is it, legislative noise? I go to his office out and wherever I am, and he was teasing about how much I get hard, and he was touching at this. I said, well, where will I work?
Yeah, they got a
Now, is that going down, going back upstairs?
Then he went in something. There somewhere, 7. Yeah. Town of Hempstead, right? Well, we don't even get that. We don't. I mean, we try to do but it's about, we don't even get but they get distributed. Yes, that's what we spread
Oh, what's up, guys?
So I got 5 minutes. All right, well, I gotta get outside and
He's in the back. I like that. We usually
Mr. Ward, did you get the letter?
right there.
That's all I can tell you. That's not our problem. No, you go better when they do the nomination, white Republicans. Remember like when I was forced endorsed and I everybody's from the party and it's whatever. Where's the hell over here? Let's get out of here. The funniest thing, you almost want to dance your way out. Yeah, that was fun. So excited to both of them drinking. So, all of a sudden you realize went down to like the county. Maybe we should get to where they're so we get Vicky's boyfriend. Party and everybody's like and all the guys everybody in one award on the stage
So I'm going to condition this.
so how do you think they and I'm like,
That's how I should get.
Assistant Chief.
Hold on.
I know it's. You must have went up into the hole. I'm ordering from Fairway. I got no, I said, so it's more than that.
More excited. Are they fun?
All right, I'll have to Mom, who's got the feed? Maybe fire department? I think it's the best. I don't know how to. Yeah, exactly. For years. Take me out. I'm so.
I'm down.
But I'm glad I'm not the road queen anymore. Love it, I love it, I love
How are you?
There's no reason to. That's only advantage to legend that is out of the That's what I and in my Christmas is turning I'm not Italian, but there's something about lasagna and Christmas. And I actually made it from scratch.
Cost me $19 a month year round. I get unlimited calls to the States. So what I do is I take my and I just put it on call forward. You have your own. All I do is I Hopefully you got what you
Although he said that he would have one They don't have so much passion and fire for it. Oh, well.